Am I just really bad at life?
That's when people risk their lives. It's for a brighter future. Like you said, it's about the future.
It's bigger than even me. It's bigger than myself. If you're driven and you want it, there's a reason for that. It's inside of you. It isn't inside of them.
If someone says that, it's because they see that you're growing. They see a change.
Do it because it's for them. And you do it for them. That rejection hits like a truck. That rejection hits 10 times more.
Looking back, I wish I did make the effort. It didn't make the difference in the grand scheme of everything.
Hello and welcome to the first ever Protagonist Talks. So if this is the first time that you've come across Protagonist, my name is Talisa and I'm joined by my co-host Daniel, and we are on a mission to get people to embody the meaning of the word protagonist because it's a mindset. So we want to get people to take ownership over their own lives and understand that you're living your story and that the future is down to the choices that you make and the actions that you take today. So we do this through our content, our events, and also our actionable tools. So if this sounds like you and you're ready to be the protagonist, join us for this journey. Subscribe to the channel, come over and say hello on Instagram or TikTok because we can't wait to see you there. So for this series, Protagonist Talks, you'll be getting to know us, the people behind Protagonist. And we'll be talking about our journey, our perspectives, our experiences throughout the years, as well as other episodes where we'll be answering the really tough, challenging questions from other people through the protagonist mindset. And trust me, guys, some of these questions had me in tears, but that's okay because we're not going to run away from the hard questions because that's where we're going to find the real gems, and it's only going to make us better and stronger and more ready for life. So without further ado, let's get into the first topic. Okay, guys, so we have our question for today, which is for all the budding entrepreneurs. How do you balance family, friends, and business?
Boy.
Tell me about it.
Listen. This one's, I guess, experience one because, boy, it's a never-ending battle. That one's a never-ending battle.
Okay.
The first thing I would say is, for that question, I feel like there's phases. There's phases in life where you got your friends, you got your family, and sometimes things are not more important. I would say things take priority over others in times. And for me, especially when it comes to business, I kind of made the conscious decision to focus on this because at the age that I'm at, I'm not going to have as much energy as I get older. I will not have the amount of time that I have. And that's why I kind of decided to focus a lot in business. Obviously, as time went by, I had to learn the balance of friends and family, that you can't just go straight into a business. Sometimes people just go straight into business, but you do need to try your best to balance it to a level. But that's why I say there's phases where you're more intense than others. Yeah. But then also it's like, you know what, I'm going to maybe slow down a little bit with business and actually take the time to see friends and family, especially even for summer. That's when we typically see friends and family a little bit more. Yeah. You know what I mean? But it's a never-ending battle.
And you know what you said reminds me of, so Myron Golden, guys, if you haven't ever watched Myron Golden's videos, definitely need to check it out. Full of wisdom from top to toe. But there was something that he says, which is that focus is the opposite of balance, and balance is the opposite of focus. And I like the fact that he said that because sometimes when you're on this journey of trying to start something, right? Because bear in mind, if we're saying, because firstly, there is this idea, okay, when we say, okay, you want to go into business, what do you mean? Do you mean you want to start a side hustle to make a bit more money? Do you mean you want to actually start an actual business that's going to be a separate entity that's going to grow and live and become something bigger? Do you want to try and scale something to a bit, what level are you willing to kind of where are you setting your sights? Because of course they may require slightly different levels of sacrifice and also time, energy, life, blood, everything. So it just depends on maybe where you're setting your sights for you to kind of understand that at the beginning, because and the reason why I say that is because when he says that balance and focus are the opposite of each other, the reason why I actually very much appreciated hearing that is because sometimes you kind of feel like, wow, am I just really bad at life? Or really bad sometimes at being a family member or a friend or whatever else, because even no matter what your intentions are and whether you kind of want to be more present or want to do more things all the time, and be more available. Sometimes there is only so much time you have in the day, especially if you are in the stage where you are still trying to do or balancing a full-time job or education or something else. Do you know what I mean? Let alone those who have families, kids, husband, wife, and all that kind of stuff. Like, the thing is, there's elements of life that just continue and have to be handled.
Yes.
But then trying to put that on top, you really have to be like, I want this. Because
Yes.
if not, there's no reason. You'd have to be insane to want to be up, working late, doing things, putting all your energy, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's the level sometimes that it requires from you to get things done over the line might be just too much to bear if you haven't chosen that road. And you're like, you know what? I'm on this road and I've committed. And so it's like that level of sacrifice. And by the way, this whole thing, like I said, about the opposite of focus and balance is because you realize that, I think from my personal perspective, it's like, I understand that there are phases in life. It's not like it's always just one long phase of just working forever and that's it until you die. It is not that at all. I remember there's often this kind of quote, which is a very simplistic quote, but it's like the idea that there is people who kind of, not suffer now. I don't remember the way it was phrased, but it's like the people who pay the price now have an easier life later, or have it hard now because of something they're doing, means that it will be easier later. Whereas people who have it easier now will find it harder later. And that is a very simplistic view. It's not necessarily a rule for life, but it's kind of like this kind of gauge where it's like, you know what, that's the vibe I'm on. That's the kind of vibe that I've always been on, where I'm just like, you know what, like you said, while I have the time, the energy, and I have the ability to, I'm going to fight tooth and nail to make something a reality. And the reason why is because I won't always have to do this. That I will think back, that when I'm older, I will look back at myself and be like, you know what, I'm so proud of you. I'm so happy of you, Talisa, that you did this, because it meant that, guess what? It meant that you were able to do this. You were able to do this for mummy, for daddy. You were able to do this for your family members. You were able to do this for your friends and family, your godchildren, all the people that are going to come, that, that you can now help. And you're like, if you hadn't made that sacrifice, you wouldn't have been able to do that thing. So I'm anticipating that there will be an older version of Talisa, an older version of me that will look back and say, you know what? Well done. I'm grateful to you. And so that's why I'm just like, you know what, even if I'm tired, even if it seems like, why am I doing this? Because, you know what I mean? It costs a lot personally. It costs a lot in so many different areas of your life. It's for a bigger purpose. And again, also just to touch on this, because there is a purpose aspect to this. If it has no purpose, and I don't mean like the purpose is, okay, yeah, it's a business, go and make money. Obviously, the thing is, what is business at its true core? It's providing value to people, and you then get remunerated for that value that you provide. And you get remunerated to the level of the value that you provide. So the more value you provide, the more you get paid. That's generally how it's to go. Yeah. And so therefore, if you're talking about it's a value exchange, you're trying to put so much value into the world and to people that they're like, you know what, I'm going to pay you for this because you've done something, you've helped me. Like if you want to go and, buy something, even if it's something very simple, like, it's a really nice sofa or whatever. Someone had to design that, make that, get those materials, source them, design it, put it together in such a way, so that you can go and enjoy it in your home. There's some level of value. And so if that's my aspiration, there's a level of, when I say purpose, I don't mean like, again, the functional purpose, which is to make money. There's a purpose behind this to provide value to people in this way. Therefore, I'm going to do this because if I don't do this, the people who are meant to get the value won't get the value. And that's my preoccupation. That's what I'm thinking of. And therefore, it's also like, wow, even if I could stop, I kind of can't because I need to do this because there's a purpose behind it. And for me, this is a God-given purpose. This is something so deeply intertwined to what I call a calling, where you're like, you know what? God's put something, is literally placed inside of you this deep desire and urge to go and do something, to go and serve the world with some kind of value or purpose, where the people will then be like, wow, if you hadn't spoken this to me today or done this for me or prepared this product or service or whatever, I wouldn't have it. Do you know what I mean? Where you impact people's lives in such a way where it wasn't you. That's kind of how I see it. And that's how it's kind of progressed over time. Because inside there's always been this kind of like person inside that's like pushing in to be like, I want to create, I want to make, I want to create, I want to put something into what I want to help. I want to do something. And I never really understood what form it would take. I've done quite a few things over the couple of years, and it's interesting to see how all these different things played a role. And so hence why I think when you have a really clear purpose of why you're doing something, you're not going to stop. You're not going to stop it. And the price has to be paid, and you understand, like I keep saying, balancing your life, because it costs you in your own personal life as well. Yes. Because it's all about friends and family, but even there's a personal cost to you because there's not time in the day to do everything. Yes. Something has to give. So what is the priority? And therefore, you make those choices.
You see, I think it's important to let your friends and family know the journey you're on.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they will all accept it or be happy, but I feel like we have a duty to tell them. Because ultimately, if you're starting a business, you're going into the realm of being a leader. Being a leader is not easy. It sounds very nice, but you need to put your neck on the line. You need to be the first one to go and do something. You need to be the one that takes the risk. And ultimately, you turn into a leader, if you like it or not, when you go into business.
Yeah.
And when you look at leaders of the world, they don't let their families dictate what they do. They kind of letting their family know, this is what I'm doing, and I hope you support me. And that's why when you have a very supportive family, you have supportive friends, partner, very important for the journey that you're going on, because you want them to help elevate you to be who you need to be to create that business, to be a real leader. And it's very difficult if they don't understand and if they're really against you, or you haven't told them what you're really doing. And then if they're not aware, they're just going to be against you.
Yeah.
It's going to make it difficult. But if they understand, I'm not even saying they're going to accept, but if you're like, I told you, this is what I'm doing.
Yeah.
And it's a phase, like you said, I do believe in phase. And like you said, you need to be focused. The balance aspect, it's hard. That is hard to really make everyone happy. But if you're going on this journey, it's important to let them know and keep going. Do you know what I mean? And for friends and family, it's like, if you just let them know you love them.
Yeah.
Or you're doing it for them.
Yeah.
And like you said, but when it's a calling, that's when people risk their lives. Do you know what I mean? When they believe something.
Yeah.
And when they move people, and that's when the great leaders of the world, because I always say leaders and business, they go in hand, so very, very a lot. They are driven, and if their family is tearing them down, they won't get to the level that they need to be.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And also, just to touch on that, because your friends and family can also misinterpret what you're doing, because people might misinterpret, time and how much of it you have as not caring.
Yes.
And I think this is the thing, because I mean, to some level, it just depends, because as much as you can let people know, some people will believe it, some people won't.
Yeah.
And I say this only because it's like over the years I've seen that, where it's like there's some people where, no matter how I kind of explain, I just need the time to do this particular thing, they won't necessarily believe. They're just like, well, you just don't care. You just don't care about, me, or you don't care about, this friendship or relationship or whatever. And you have to kind of say, what, it's just a phase. It's just not phase, but it's just a phase of my life where this is something I must do. And the reality is this thing, believe it or not, is just it's bigger than you. Meaning, yes, I do value you, but at the same time, I value my family and what I must do for me, myself, my future family, my current family, my future, everything, all the people that I need to do this for. Like that's so much big. It's bigger than even me. It's bigger than myself. Like I can't even say to myself, just stop. No, because it's bigger than me. There's a purpose to it. Hence why we keep going back to this idea of it being a calling. And then, and I think also just to touch on the fact that there's a level of vulnerability when you are starting a business, right? Because it's not just like, okay, cool, it's like, this is the way I make money, because you make money many ways. You can make money from a job, etc., but it's not like a job, because you don't go in there and you kind of have a job spec and you get told what to do and you do it and you go home. This is you putting out your ideas, your thoughts, the things you're being a creator. And this is you putting out to the world, and people can judge it. They can say yes or no, they can like it, they cannot like it, it might work, it might not work. This is you putting your all out there and people seeing it. It's like you bearing your soul and saying, I've created this thing, what do you think? And then, putting it out there. And sometimes people accept it, sometimes they don't. But then that's part of the journey, because if they don't accept it, you go again, or you change, and then you keep, you do, or you persist with what it is, because it just needs some time. But either way, there's a level of vulnerability, because you are putting yourself out there in a way that people don't always do. If it's not starting a business, something so unique in that way, because it's all down to you. It's a reflection of you and who you are, your ideas, your thoughts, what you've created, how, you know, the things that you want to give to the world. And it just is such a vulnerable thing. And that's the reason why it's like, I mean, there's other topics we can go into that I'm sure we're going to go into in other talks, because it's kind of not necessarily related for this, but it's a very vulnerable process. And hence why I say that, because it's something where you only do that if you believe in it. And it's so important. It's that important that it means that, yes, you can't always be able to have, you know, chats on the phone all the time, or answer the phone, or always be at every event, every weekend, or everywhere all the time. You just can't, because this other thing is so important that you're just driven to do it.
I think I actually believe people really underestimate how difficult going on that journey is of creating a business. That really, you don't know if it's going to work. You can't say for sure it will. When you go and get a job and you get a job, you're basically 99% sure you're going to get paid. When you start a business, you don't know if it's going to go right or wrong.
Yeah.
You don't know if money's going to necessarily come in or not this month. You might make a massive error and it destroys your reputation or destroys your customer relationships. And it's like when friends and family say, why are you working so hard? Or what, you know, like you said, oh, you've missed this, why don't you come? Oh, I'm a bit busy. They think it's only because, oh, we just like working. I'm trying to do my best to make sure that it works. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's for a brighter future. Like you said, it's about the future. I have to believe that this will work, that something will happen.
Yeah.
So then in the future, your friends and family, all these people look at you and say, thank you. Thank you for doing this. Thank you for that sacrifice. Because it's not easy. And the pressure that you get from having a business, it's not easy.
Yeah.
It's not, obviously having a business is a choice, but that's why the people that really do well, they care about it a lot.
Yeah.
They care about it a lot. And even though they sacrifice their time, they sacrifice moments with their family, or just, you know, sometimes even just sitting down on the sofa watching Netflix with your family, they sacrifice that. It's because they believe it will pay off.
Yeah.
And your friends and family won't see it in the moment, but you just have to believe that they will see it one day.
Exactly.
And then you will be able to live a different life than majority of people.
Yeah.
So it pays off. Even legacy, leaving something for your family. How many people have, you know, oh, my dad has a business that I know I can go into.
Yeah.
Or, you know, my dad has properties. Your family has stuff for you. That's what it's for.
Yeah.
Those moments that you miss out on enjoyment. It's for those moments when you get old, when you know everyone's secure, everyone's happy, everyone's able to. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
So that's why I believe at the end of the day, if you have to have the vision.
Yeah.
As the business owner, you have to have the vision, and you can't expect other people to have the same vision. They can't see what you see, but you have to believe and make it happen. And then when they come to you like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. Really, it's like, I knew this is what I was working for. I expect this to happen eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
You know?
There's a level of expectation. And at the end of the day, like we said, again, this is for budding entrepreneurs, right? These are people who are at this very beginning of the process where it's like,
or in the middle.
This is where it's hardest. This is where you work. So usually, because like they always say that analogy when you're starting this business, right? It's like the rocket ship, where I can't remember the amount. Was it 80%, 90%, whatever it is? It's like a really high percentage of the fuel or the energy gets used at the very beginning to take off, and then once it's there, it's coasting, because that is essentially what it is, right? That you need to throw everything into it at the beginning to get it off the ground, and once off the ground, then it's like, that's when you can start to be like, okay, cool, I'm getting more balance. I'm getting a stage of life where it's like, okay, now I can breathe a bit more, and now it's a bit easier, because it's just that beginning process where you're balancing. It's the hardest it ever will be, because that's where you're not seeing the end completely yet. You're just believing it's going to work out. You're looking to the future and being like, I believe that there is that light there, and I'm going towards it, and I'm going the right way. And whether I'm going the right way or not, I'll find the way. Do you know what I mean? So you're putting all that time, energy, effort, everything you have into it, that stages. And again, that's where it can be the hardest to balance. Because again, especially if you're doing this while you're still employed, because I'm saying that because there'll be a lot of people out there who are at that stage, and they feel like, Is it worth it? Should I do it? Especially if you don't have a lot of people around you who are doing that, especially if you know you're not surrounded by a lot of entrepreneurial people, or maybe you live in a place or in a country where it's not, people might laugh at you or think that, you're a bit like, why?
Yeah,
like, why don't you just get a job and just chill out? Like, why don't you just rest on the weekend?
Yeah.
Why are you doing this? Why are you just always tired? And you don't necessarily have anyone to tell you that you should carry on. I just want this to be an opportunity to tell you to carry on, because guess what? You know why. If you're driven and you want it, there's a reason for that. It's inside of you. It isn't inside of them, because they're on their own path. They're on their own journey. It's inside of you, and you must do it. Only you can do it. So you have to keep believing and keep doing it. And because once you keep believing, you keep walking forward and finding the way. So even if, yes, the journey you're on right now may be the way, it might not be the way. Maybe it should be a slightly different way. It doesn't matter. You trust that you're going to find the way, because you're going to keep going. And that's the reason why I want to urge you to keep going, because the world needs people like you. It needs people like you to keep creating things, to keep making new things, to keep innovating, to keep building things, to keep being risk takers and creating things that didn't exist before. If we didn't have them, the world would be a colourless place.
Yes.
It needs people who are willing to take the risk and to put their ideas out there and be afraid. You know what I mean? Not afraid, but like, be
scary.
ready to risk judgment. And so you need to keep doing it. And so, I just want to, even if you feel alone, because there's not a lot of people around you, you are not. You are absolutely not alone. There's people all around the world right now, even people where you are, that will be doing the same thing. Because oftentimes when we're doing this as well, we cannot talk about it. We're very quiet, especially if our friends and family are not on that same journey. Sometimes they are, and we're really fortunate, or they care enough to ask, and they're like, okay, how's it going? And they want to know. And so we can tell them, and they come along for the ride, and you're very blessed if that's the situation you're in. If you're not in that situation and they don't care, they literally do not care, they don't ask, or they don't want to know, or maybe they're negative about it. It's just, the thing is, it's down to you to understand that it is your journey, that you have to keep going. And that even if you feel alone, there are people on the very same journey that also feel alone as well. And often we don't talk about it. So we don't necessarily seek people out that are on the same journey to be like, oh, you too, me too. You kind of just do your own thing by yourself, especially if you don't have a business partner. So it's just, let this be some motivation that you do it, because everything had a beginning. Everything had a beginning where it didn't exist, it didn't work. And the only reason why something became something is because the person was willing to carry on.
Yes.
So that person needs to be you. If you have the idea, the person needs to be you. You have to keep going. And I'm saying it to them, I say it to myself, because it's always like, I'm still on my journey too. So, let that just be a word for anyone that has a dream and they just still want to go for it, but they're just like, is it worth it? To be fair, it's a choice that only you can answer as well, because there's always sacrifice. For anything that's worthwhile in life, or anything we want, there is a payoff, there is a sacrifice. And you have to ask the question is this a price you're willing to pay? Because for some people, it won't be worth it. They're like, you know what? I'll miss too much time, where for me, my main focus in life is the people around me, or is this other thing, or this other passion, or this other, I don't know, my job or something else, you know what I mean? Or just my family, just my actual family. Then that's fine. That's absolutely fine, because I think then that should be what you focus on, because if it's anything else, it wouldn't make sense, and it would be, you'd be out of balance, because it wouldn't be right for you. You know deep inside of you what is the right journey for you, and if it is that, focus on that. Do you know what I mean? If it is doing this very vulnerable process of starting a business, then do it.
Yeah, and I think they need to be conscious when they're going on this journey that you'll change.
Yeah.
On this journey, you change a lot. How you were at the beginning, you can't be the same. You develop, you grow, and friends and family may question that. They may ask, "Oh, do you now think you're better than me, or do you think because you're doing this that now you're a big..." To be fair, it's never actually happened to me, luckily.
Yeah, it's not happened to me either.
Luckily.
But I know it does happen.
Yeah, it happens. And you just need to be conscious that if someone says that, it's because they see that you're growing. They see a change. It should reaffirm that I am doing something good, because everyone, I'm not even saying everyone is, but everyone is the same. And now you're going to a different position, a different place than where they are. And they may question, they may feel a bit uneasy that you're doing something different. And especially when it starts to work. Yeah. It comes out even more. Because it's that simple saying that at the beginning they laugh, and then in the middle they're confused, they question, and at the end they're now celebrating. Well done, you did it. So it's like understanding that transition may happen in your journey with your friends and family, but if they're if they really love you, if they're really there for you, if they're your people, even if they go through that process and they do start to have either hate or something like that, just know at the end, they'll be like, you know what? I'm happy for you.
Yeah.
A real friend, especially friends specifically, they will be like, I'm happy for you. If they see you growing and they're like, I really acknowledge the change that you've made, that's a real true friend. Do you know what I mean? And it's hard for certain people don't want to say those things.
Yeah.
It's kind of like a humbling thing to say that I'm happy for you, but that's a pure level of friendship.
Well, yeah, it's humbling if they felt that way.
Yes.
Because some people are just happy for you. Your friends, your actual true friends are actually happy for you. And they're going to express that. They're going to be there. They were there when it was hard and they had an encouraging word to say. And they're there now, even in the good times. So that's the thing. It's like they've been there. And it's even like acknowledging that it's okay if people don't see what you... If they don't see what you believe is at the end. So you have a belief of what's at the end, right? Which is the success, which is the end, the thing that you're trying to achieve. If they don't see it, that's not a problem. That's okay. They don't need to. That's okay. So especially because your friendship isn't necessarily based on that. And the funny thing is, it's like until you've done it, they don't know whether you'll do it. Therefore, it's like only you can demonstrate that it to be true. They are hopefully they wouldn't be negative about it, because that would be an issue if they were negative and like they were actually angry about it or had a problem or trying to say negative things to you, but they just might not be convinced. Well, that's okay, because maybe they're not even your target market. Because think about that. Yeah. Especially if you're doing a very specific type of business. If they don't understand this or they're not your target market, don't expect them to understand, because they're not your target market. So don't worry about it. What you need to care about is whether your target market believes that this is the right thing. That's all you need to really care about. So it's just make sure you're prioritizing, not kind of focusing too much on needing people to be like, yes, you know what I mean? Like, and be like, yeah, we can see it and we believe it and it's going to happen. It's lovely when they do, but if they don't, There's
something that you said before, which I really do believe, which is when it comes to special occasions, birthdays, make sure you're always there.
Yeah.
Unless it is a very, very important situation.
Yeah.
Make sure you're there.
Yeah.
Because I was actually someone that wasn't always there. And the fact that you said that, it really made me reflect that you're right. I feel like if someone's birthday, 1 year or 1 weekend of the whole year, separate the time for
yeah.
Like, of course, you could go ahead. You could get even further in your business. I understand. Every time I'm thinking, I could be further. Yeah. That's what, at every moment. But these are special occasions that people will appreciate, that you spent those time.
Exactly.
You spent this time with the people that you love, and you have to make sure that you're there in those important moments.
Yeah.
Because birthdays, only, like you said, comes around once
a year.
So I appreciate when you said that, and I said, you know what, I'll make sure to do that.
Yeah.
Moving forwards, because you can't take that time back. Time is something you can't take.
Exactly. Yeah. And there's something specific, I think, especially about birthdays, where it's like you, that's the reason why, like you said, I always make sure, like, come hell or high water, like I have to, something has to be my 2 legs must be broken, or I must be in a different country for me to not be able to make your birthday. And you're my friend. If you've invited me, I will be there. Do you know what I mean? Especially, like, even if things going on, it's a really, really busy time, I'll be there. Because I think there's something where it's like, that's the day where people, whether rightly or wrongly, because some people might argue, yeah, it's just a birthday. Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to, it's just this one day.
Especially
I love
for
you.
boys,
I'm there all the rest of the
we're
time.
chilled.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like,
because it's like all the rest of the time I see you, and you know that your relationship with this person means so much more than just one birthday. But the thing is, there's something specific about birthdays where it's the one time everyone knows that they're going to celebrate and to celebrate this person's life, and to just, spend that time, bless that person, just be happy with that person and celebrate them. And so it's like, when you say, okay, I'm not going to make it, and you could make it, it's like you don't treat it as special, which means that it's not really that important to me, even though it's important to you, because the reason why you're going is not for yourself. It's never for yourself. It's never, no matter what they're doing, unless it's something that you're really against and you don't want to do, even if it's not something you would have chosen, do it because it's for them, and you do it for them, and that's the day when they're going to feel the most loved. And if you don't do it on that day, there's something about it where it's just like, say for instance, you let people down on other occasions where they've invited you somewhere or something like that. If it's their birthday, that rejection hits like a truck. That rejection hits 10 times more than on any other day. So if you're saying, if somebody's your friend and they've invited you to their birthday, and you could go and you're like, don't fancy it, I just don't feel like it, or I just don't want to go. It's like, you have to really assess, firstly, how you feel about that person, and secondly, how that person is going to feel that you thought that, because that's the one thing that's special to them. And hence why, that's the reason why I take it so seriously. And, you know, I would hope other people would. I know not everybody does, but that's the reason why personally for me, I always do that, because even if I can't be there, like, you know, I can't see you every weekend. We can't do this thing where we regularly go out all the time, because I just don't have the time right now. If it's your birthday, you know I'm going to be there. Do you know what I mean? And I kind of, but I even go one further, because if somebody like, it's not like we're really, really close friends, but you've made the effort to invite me, I'll try and go. You know, unless I can't, I'll try and go, because you've extended the invite and, you know, you've made the effort to invite me to your birthday. I'm going to be there, and I'm going to be a good guest, and I'm going to celebrate you, and I'm going to big you up, and I'm going to be like, hey, you know what I mean? It's your birthday. I'm going to do that, because the day's about the person. And so it's just like, I think it's a very, there's something specific about birthdays where it's your opportunity to show someone, you know what? I do care about you, I do value you, and I want to celebrate you. So even if you can't be there all the time, I think birthdays are a great opportunity to be able to do that.
I fully agree, and that's why I appreciate because I think you told me only a couple months ago, and I really deeped it. I really meditated on what you said a lot, because that's why I'm literally the opposite of you in that scenario, and that's why, like, looking back, I wish I did make the effort. I wish I did, because sometimes then friendships are not as solid because you weren't there at these important moments.
Yeah,
and it's like, I was like, oh no, I need to do this in business. Oh, I need to do a little bit more. And it's like, looking back now, that one day probably didn't make the difference.
yeah.
Like, I know every day counts, but that one day, that one weekend that you could have done something with them or for them, it didn't make the difference in the grand scheme of everything. And that's why I look back, like, as someone that did that and that missed birthdays, I'm like, definitely listen to what you just said there.
Yeah.
100%. And that's why, like, I'm like, moving forwards, I need to try my best.
Yeah.
Like, I need to try my best to be there, support them, see them, make the effort.
Yeah.
Because business, obviously, it's a journey.
Yeah.
But it's not the be all end all. We all do it ultimately for your family, for them.
Well, at the end of the day, we're not perfect. So there'll be times where we make decisions about, you know, just things, and yeah, it might be like, sometimes we wish we could turn the hands of time back, or sometimes we wish we would have handled it a bit differently. But at the end of the day, we do our best. We do it according to what we think is right in the moment. And so, you know, sometimes it is something where we can. That's why I think if we're consciously choosing, okay, how do we make sure that we communicate with our friends and family about what we can do? And also, because I think there's one aspect of this that I don't know if we touched on enough, which is about balancing life as well. So yes, the people in your life, so your friends and family, but also your life, because your life is made of so many different parts. And you know what? There's a level of me, especially because I can be very, I know this is not even true. It's a myth about women being able to multitask. There's somehow this thing about women, they can do 10 things at one time and just will do it. I don't know why. That's not me. That is not me. I can only do one. Don't even talk to me if I'm writing a message. I can't write a message at all. That's the reason why I take so long to write a message, because the minute anyone talks to me, I'm like, I can't do it. So hence why it's just like, for me, I must be someone that is very, you know what I mean, focused on what I'm doing. So I understand that I have a capacity as well. So there's things that are always important. So yes, they'll remain. But right now it's like, there's phases where it's like, you know what, this is what I got to get done. And then I move on to another thing. It's like when I had like to take a break, I took a whole year out, and it was a break, and it was just about me. And then it was just about friends and family. Like, there was one thing I did, which is called my GUP, my glow up plan, where I kind of changed my life using my spreadsheets. Can I have colourful spreadsheets? And I did that for a year. So I'll probably talk about that at some point as well, actually, because that was a very life-changing year.
That was a really good thing. Yeah, I remember.
Incredible year. And then I had a year off where it was just literally just about friends. I mean, I saw people all the time.
You did a lot. Is that when you went on holiday?
That was another year.
Oh,
there was another year where it was all about holidays. And every month I was on holiday. I'm just like, I just want to see the world.
6 holidays, no?
Yes, exactly. Because you know what? When I realised the world could be locked down, when we had lockdown, I'm like, listen, there's places I want to see. So I'm just like, I need to go somewhere new every other month at least this year. And you know what? 1 year I will do even better. And every month, but you know, it doesn't matter. But I think it's just like, there's, like I keep saying, there's phases in life. And so I'm glad for those times. But now, then there was a time of working. Just get your head down and get stuff done. So, you know, it won't be forever. Give yourself grace. If you need to take some time to do it, there's obviously this idea as well about, you know, closing yourself off then re-emerging later, having changed.
Yeah.
I actually do like that.
Yeah,
because
I do
sometimes
as
you
well.
need to stop and you need to just be like, okay, what am I doing and what is my life about? And I need to then go and make this change. I need to go prepare, put things in place, change some things before I can then rejoin society and be with people around me. So if that's the case, then that's the case.
I like how you mentioned multitasking and
That myth.
yeah, that myth. Because what happens with multitasking, our attention shifts.
Yeah.
Like you said, with a message. Because I do it with you a lot as well.
I don't know how.
Just about, because our attention shifts from the phone to the person speaking.
Yeah.
And you will actually miss certain sections on each thing. That's why when you multitask, you'll see a message written a little bit weird. And then when you're speaking to someone at the same time, they said, "Oh, do you understand what I mean?" And you would say, "Yes," but you're kind of piecing together what you heard. So you can't multitask because we only can focus on one thing at a time.
Thank you for not making me feel bad. Like,
No, but it's true. but I feel like because you really focus. Like what I see when
I'm
you
just
do
a focused person,
you
yeah.
focus. And that's why when you're with friends and family, or if you're doing something for yourself, focus on that.
Exactly.
Don't try and do half-hearted. Let me do something at the same time when I'm with friends and family. Be with them. Be present.
Exactly.
So you're there for the whole moment.
Exactly. Because even when I do brunches, because I love a brunch, right? When I do brunches, listen, I will not look at my phone until it's time to go. And I need to see the time on the way to go. I will not look at my phone the whole time. Sometimes my phone will be there for hours because I just like, I'm in the moment. I'm with this person. This is the time I'm spending with this person, with these people. So why am I going to be on my, do you know what I mean? Like I don't do this kind of scrolling thing or just like checking things. Like I like to be like, okay, this is the time for the WhatsApp messages now. And then I do them. Or this is the time for the text. Like I just can't let I don't know. Like I keep saying, maybe it's ADD. I don't know if I have it. There might be. I think there's some ADD there. I don't know. But I just cannot. I mean, flag the flag. I don't even know if I have it. But the point is, I just know that I cannot do all these things at one time. I just must focus. I'm just
none of us can really. But that's why I think ultimately, when it comes to friends and family, like you said, there's phases, there's focus periods, and it's just, I feel like it's just making them aware.
Yeah.
What's going on. And then I think there's a point you said as well about communication.
Yeah.
Make sure you're letting them know what's going on.
Yeah.
Where you're at, why you're not able to make it this time, or why you need to stay back a little bit longer, or let them know and they will appreciate those things.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Okay, probably a good note to end on. So guys, that's all we have time for. We hope that you've had value that you can take away and act on today. So look after yourselves. We'll see you next time. And remember, you are the protagonist. It's your story.